Why don't they all do this?
Illustrations by me.
So you know, lately I have been talking about adding texture to my watercolor paintings, and I've been using acrylic markers, and it just so happens that someone sent me a few more. So this is, you know, HOTU. HOTU is usually the alcohol marker people. That's what everybody knows them for, but they make acrylic markers. Now the thing is with these is something actually pretty unique, something ingenious, is that they put them on both sides. Look, sometimes you travel and you don't want to take those big stacks of 120 markers with you, so you take a handful with you and you're stuck with whatever you can take. This doubles that number. Whatever you think you can take, like I'm going to take 6 markers. Now you have a dozen colors with those 6 markers. I think that's a great idea. That's something very interesting. And they're brush tip markers. You know I like the brush tip. You don't shake, you don't pump, you don't stab. Everything just works just like this. You take the top off and you use it. So I will be doing that. I'll be swatching out the full line that they sent me here. And these markers here, you get 72 colors in 36 markers. And it says that they're quick drying, water-based ink, so you know that they're acrylic because that's water-based, that's what it is. Non-toxic, you know they're non-toxic, and they're UV resistant. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm sure that these are not maybe 100% light fast, but maybe they're a little bit where they'll last a little while. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not one of those people that puts them in the window for 6 months and sees how much they fade. I don't do that kind of stuff. Other people do that kind of stuff and then they tell me. I think I'm gonna like this palette because every color on here is a color that I like. I don't think, well, there's a yellow green. No, I'm gonna scratch that. Almost every color on here I like. So they're just beautiful looking colors. I don't know. I want to do what I can. I think that's great. I think that's a wonderful idea. They did send me some swatch sheets too, a black and a white. So I will do both of them for you because they put them out there. So I'll do a speed swatching where I swatch out all the colors. I'm going to do a full watercolor painting, and I'm going to use these to accent my watercolor painting. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, if I'm going to do it the same way I did last time. Last time I did the watercolor background and then did the acrylic markers in the foreground and in the middle ground. But I think what I want to do this time is do a full watercolor painting and just use these colors, use the pens, use the markers to accent the watercolor and add some texture to it and see what I can do there, because I enjoy doing that. I enjoy adding more to my watercolor with mixed media and see how it works. So I always use mixed media anyway. I always add ink to all of my stuff. You know that. I add ink to everything. So now I'll just be adding acrylic paint to what I'm doing. I'm still probably going to use the ink as well, so it's going to help to separate some of that as well. I don't know what I'm going to do exactly yet, but I'm going to see how it goes. I do want to do it with the watercolor and the acrylic marker and the ink. I know I'm going to do those things. That's all I know. I don't have a composition in mind. I don't know what I'm even going to go with, but I'll try something and see how it turns out. Okay, let's get to the swatch. Okay, so these came out very differently on the black and white paper, depending on which color you're looking at. I liked them much more on the white paper. Some of the colors I like more on the black paper, but they just came out very different. Anyway, let me start with some colors that I really like. That first set, the red and the coral pink, I would probably use that. I think that's a good set. You move down to the orange, then right next to them, the candy pink and the rose deep, absolutely love those. Then they have a color, even there's a couple of skin tones in there, but I do like that the ecru. That's not a bad color. I don't know what it is, but it's something about it that I enjoy. The heather and lilac, absolutely great. The iris and purple, medium purple, I would probably use those. The great purple and the purple, those are nice colors. The dark blue, the royal blue, definitely some of my favorite. That dark blue is a beautiful color. One of my favorites. The turquoise and the baby blue. The laurel and the olive. Listen, the laurel green and the olive are two of my favorite colors in the set, and they're greens. How about that? You move down then to the sage. I'm not crazy about the fern color, but the sage I absolutely love. The sapphire and the teal look beautiful. Sky blue and blue, those two look beautiful. The sky blue I really like. The blue gray in the ocean, again, two of my favorite colors in the whole set. and they're a little bit dulled down. Same thing goes with the Dazzling Blue and the Army Green. Absolutely love them. Then you get to some earth tones. I love all the earth tones. The Indian Red is a little strange. It's not what I would consider an Indian Red, but I like the color. It's just not what I would call an Indian Red. Not that any of these really have to measure up to anything, because there's just an idea of a name. The copper and the wood brown. The wood brown is nice. I like that warm gray tone. I do like that. The hazel and then the oyster. Now those two are beautiful greens. Again, two of my favorite in the whole set, and they're greens. I don't know what that's about, but I do love them. The peanut and the cedar I like. You know I don't like the gold and silver. I don't like the gold and silver thing. And then you get to the cool misty, the black white. I don't know what the last ones are, lime and Nevada, but they're beautiful colors. I would use them, but I don't know. They're in reference to something. I don't know. If you know what that means, let me know. Why is lime like a charcoal gray? Please tell me. If you know that answer, I want to hear about it in the comments down below. The other thing I noticed is all the way up towards the top, in the second row towards the end, you see a sepia color. 698 sepia is a light color. That's what it looks like when I mix sepia with white. When I paint my dog or something like that, that's almost the color that I use. Not quite, but that's what it reminds me of, is that sepia color is like the sepia mixed with white, and that's kind of the color that you get there. But anyway, you actually get, it's between that and the wood brown is actually the color that you get when you mix up that sepia. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's an interesting, I thought it was interesting that it came out like that and they call it sepia. And it doesn't matter. When you did them on the black, they were completely different, and I have different things that I like. Most of them are the same. Most of the ones that I like there as well. But they completely changed everything about it. Like if you look at the blue-gray in the ocean on the white paper, and then you look at the blue-gray in the ocean on the black paper, completely different colors. They look completely different between the black and white. That's just how it is. I expected, of course, the white and things too. The gray. Look at on the very bottom row, the cool and the misty. On the white paper, they look like a gray. On the black paper, they almost look like they're a white. They're very different. Very, very different. So, and it's just because of the background that you're putting it on. That's how it is. So I think I prefer some of them on the white paper and some of them on the black paper. It just depends on what it is. Now, you would need to do a second coat on the black paper. You would. I shook them, I did everything I could to them, and they do streak a little bit, but I've never seen a paint marker that didn't. Any one that I've used does, because keep in mind, these are the brush tip, which means they have that rubberized tip. So you're swiping back and forth, and every time you go over an area, you're taking wet paint and going back over it. So you're going to move that paint off a little bit. So it's going to cause those streaking. So you're going to have to do multiple layers, maybe in different directions. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But if you wanted to get a solid coverage on the black paper, that's what you'd have to do. On the white paper, no problem, no streaking. Everything looks great. And it's a solid coverage all the way through. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's get into the painting. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple things. I think I accomplished what I was trying to do. When I first started with the watercolor, I said I do want some of the watercolor to shine through. So I did do the water and then charge the paint into it, which gave it a little bit of spreading, a little bit of blossoms and blooms. There wasn't really blooming happening, but the paint itself was blooming in the water. But there wasn't like water blooms where you have backgrounds and things like that. There are several different things that I wanted to try and accomplish here. I think I was successful with some of it, but I also had a little bit of criticism that we're also going to go into with the marker. So right away, everything worked great. I was able to put the watercolor in. I didn't know what pattern I was doing. I just figured it out as I went. And then I went ahead and put in the acrylic ink. Now, when I put the acrylic paint marker, not acrylic ink, it's acrylic paint marker. When I put in the paint marker, everything went great. Everything was fine. I didn't notice until the very end. There was a little bit there was two markers, the coral pink which is the second one the first batch that I swatched, the second color, and then the blue-gray, which is all the way towards the end. The rubber tip on that marker started to get a little floppy, and I didn't use it too much. So I swatched the color and then put them on the page. Those are the only two that I saw like that. Everything else was fine, and there were other markers that I used much more. So I think there was a little bit, maybe it was just because of I was scrubbing it, I don't know, but I really didn't use it that much for it to already start getting floppy at the tip. Now it did reform right away, everything was fine. It was just that the tip, if I kept going with that, I felt like the tip was eventually going to kind of peel off or something. The very, very tip, the very, very point. Now that can happen sometimes because I'm using them on paper. And so when you use them on paper, there's a constant kind of abrasion thing happening. Usually when you like paint on a rock or something, you go in one direction. You're not sitting there scrubbing back and forth. I was sitting there scrubbing back and forth in certain spots. You also usually go in the direction that you're going, like the same direction, the lines going the same. I kind of went in the opposite direction of the point on a couple of times, so I was like folding the point under a little bit. May not be entirely fair, but I'm just letting you know that I did notice that on these. However, I love the colors. The colors were, I was able to take any of the paints I was using, and I was using my standard palette of Daniel Smith and Core paint. And anything that I was using, I could find a color in that set that would match it or come pretty close. You'll see, I mean, when you see me start to put in those paint markers, you'll see that sometimes you can't even see that I'm putting the paint marker in because of how close the match is, the color match. That was really interesting that I could do that with all of the different colors I was using. I have a set, I think there's 14 in that set, and I was using a few different colors. I don't think I used all of them, but I used several of the different colors, and I tried to get colors that were bright and vibrant, that things that popped, and then I got some other ones that were more granulating, and trying to blend them and mix them together. And the paint markers work great for that. I had no problem with it, and I would not hesitate to take these with me. There were several colors I wish I would have used more of because I didn't get to use all the colors that I really loved from that marker set in the painting because I didn't have the paints to really blend them together that way. Probably if I looked through all of my paints I could have, but I just wanted to use my palette. I haven't used that palette in a long time. Usually I don't use my standard palette because I have so many other sets I'm trying out or testing, and I want to paint several paintings with them. So I take them and I paint with them after the video that I reviewed them and just make sure that I get a full workout with them to see how they are. And so I wanted to grab that standard palette, and that's what I grabbed, and everything was fine. Everything went great. Now, I don't know if that's something that you would do, what I did. If you wait and see what I did, and then I went back in with ink. So I outlined the individual spots to give it more texture. I think it came out okay. I think I enjoyed the way it came out. I don't know what it is or how it looks. I don't know. And then I went back in at the end and put in a thicker line. Now, let me tell you something. A lot of times people comment and they say, oh, I like how you do the line variation. So when I did the outlining of all the paint and the marker, I used a fine liner. So it was an even point. It was a unipin. I think it was a unipin. Yeah, it's a unipin fine liner. And it was an 05. And I took that and I did all the outlining of all the outside, the inside, all the different colors, the paint markers, everything. People say, oh, I like when you can use a fine liner, you still get the line variation, or you like go over an area a couple times and make it like darker and thicker. It works to my advantage and I like it, but you know why I do that? Because I can't draw a straight line. That's right, I'm an artist who cannot draw a straight line. Don't worry about that. That's for me to worry about, but I don't mind. When those things happen, I like it because it gives me that interest that people say, hey, that was interesting that you had that line variation there. And I didn't even mean to do it, but it ended up there and I have to make it look good now. So I skipped over. You can see sometimes if I'm doing an outline area or if I'm going inside and hitting the section of where the colors meet and I just skip over and I go too deep or go too wide, or maybe my hand's in the way and I didn't see it and I skipped over a spot. I go back in and I make it a little bit darker and I make it a little bit thicker, and then I have to make it look smoother. So I do that, and people say, "Oh yeah, I like that." Well, it's not on purpose. It's just something I missed a spot and I had to go back and do it. And you would never, unless I tell you, you probably wouldn't know because it looks like I'm doing it on purpose. But I just can't draw a straight line. If I was a surgeon, you would not want to be anywhere near me. You would just immediately, you'd see me and say, I think we need a different doctor. I mean, sometimes it's bad. I should have been operating on your kneecap and accidentally cut off your ear. Like, that's how bad it is. So I have to do those things and fix those lines, especially when I use thin pen. That's why a lot of times I use thicker pens, because I know I'm going to hit the line. I don't skip the line, and sometimes I do it anyway because it's just that bad. I just don't draw. I don't care enough, I think. And that could be the problem. Maybe I just don't care enough. I'm just having fun and doing something, and I don't care if I'm on the line. I don't care. So if I skip it, I just go back and make it darker, make it thicker, and kind of blend it in, and it looks like a thicker spot. Now it looks like a line variation, and that's wonderful for me, and I guess other people like it too. But I just wanted to let you know that that's what happens when you see me go back and do the thicker part on the outside. Now that part wasn't all my fault. I have this Tombow Funosuke pen. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. No one's ever corrected me. It's a felt tip pen, and I think it's drying out. I had a set of 3 of them, I think, and they're all pretty much drying out. I have to get rid of them and get new ones. But so that's the problem. It starts to skip as I outline, and I have to go back and go back. You'll see. But as far as the colors, I love them. They work great. They work for the piece. This took a long time. I forgot to look at what it was. I think it was, the painting part took like 15 minutes. And then all the rest of the outlining and the detail, that took like, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of time. That was like an hour and a half of the paint of the drawing part, because I was putting in all the detail. So that took a long time, and I was going slow and just having a fun time. I was listening to some music. I was just drawing away, and that's what I ended up with. And of course, I did put a fan on the work to speed up the drying of the watercolor. So, but I was not counting the drying time in that time thing. It took some time to dry. I had a fan on top of it to dry it off, and that's fine. And then I went along. Hey everyone, I'm popping back into this video just for a second. I recorded this video on September 6th before the events of September 10th. And what I'm about to say sounds like I'm referring to that point, and I wasn't, but I think it holds maybe a little bit more importance now than it did then. I don't really care where anybody stands on anything. This is an art channel. That's what we do here. We talk about art, and I want people to experience art and express art and enjoy creating art. No matter what anyone thinks about anything else in life, I want you to be able to create art. So, but this point is important, and it doesn't just pertain to YouTube, which is what I say in the video. But I did want to just pop in here and say this is not in direct response to that. If it was, it would be a little bit, I hope it wouldn't be taken the wrong way. I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, and definitely my prayers and thoughts go out to the Kirk family, and can't imagine the things that they have to deal with. But I'm going to leave this in the video because I think it's an important point. I think it gets to, no matter where you stand on anything, whether you agree or disagree with anyone, it's important to do the right thing always and treat people like people. All right, you can go on to this now. And I think something noteworthy I just wanted to bring up. There was a person, Acacia Cole Art. We had a discussion when I did that student, there's no such thing as student grade paint thing. We had a discussion and we disagreed, and she disagreed with everything I was saying entirely. There was nothing there that there was agreement on. However, it was a pleasant conversation. That's how discussions have to be had here on YouTube. We don't have enough of that. Matter of fact, at the end, very end, I had such a pleasant discussion with her, not agreeing with me on anything, that I went and checked out her channel, and it's a nice channel, and she does great work, and I subscribe to her channel. So I'm going to send you over there. I don't know if she's continuing to work on it. I hope she does. She's a great artist. So I'll have that link down below to go ahead and check out her channel, give her some encouragement, tell her to keep going. Like I said, it's a wonderful time and wonderful experience. Those are the kind of people we need on YouTube. The kind of artists we need are the ones that can disagree with you on everything. Listen, if you watch my next video, I'll disagree with myself on everything. That's not the problem. I don't care who disagrees with me. It's how it happens, how we treat it. And when someone is respectful and holds a normal conversation, everything is pleasant, that's what we need here. Most of you are like that. I'd say 99% of you are like that. There's the 1% that wander in here sometimes and they don't even understand what they're wandering into. They were looking for a Kentucky Fried Chicken and they came into a top-class restaurant. I wouldn't go that far. They came into a different kind of restaurant. Maybe it was like a family diner or something like that. Maybe it's a diner. They were looking for Kentucky Fried Chicken. They wandered into a diner. And we serve the meat however you ask us to serve the meat, not the chicken. It has to be cooked. This is a bad analogy. Don't pay any attention to what I'm saying. Anyway, let's focus on, we have to refocus myself. I haven't rambled in a while. I haven't gone off on any tangents in a while, and I was happy to do that. That relieves the pressure off my brain when I can do stuff like that. So just like these people popping up on the screen here, they relieve the pressure off my brain because they're very kind people and they let me ramble. And that's what I do sometimes. I have to ramble and they say, yeah, no problem, we'll listen to it. So, and all of you listen to it as well. So thank you very much. So thumb up the video if you're going to check out these markers. Did I ever show you the box? I don't know if I showed you the box. This is the box. Yes, I did, because I pointed out some colors, I think. But yeah, this is the box. And I was looking for some of these colors. I think I found all of them. But some of these oranges are a little bit light compared to the orange I had. But you got to mix some. I think they mix well. I don't know. I didn't try mixing them. I probably should have. I'm reviewing markers that I didn't mix, but that's okay. I usually don't mix the markers. I'm adding them to my watercolor. That's what I'm doing. I'm not blending markers and doing that kind of stuff. And I would say from the way that they appeared on the black paper, if you were painting a rock or something, I might do a coat of primer on the rock. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people don't like to do that. I don't understand people. But do a little coat of primer on the rock because I think it comes off a little bit better and there's no streaks at all. It comes off as a solid color on white. So I would do that. If that was me, that's what I'd do. The white came off solid, absolutely no problem. I would probably do that to the rock. Okay, I'm rambling again. So I think I was a little bit distracted in this video, so I probably rambled off into some weird stuff. Let's see what happened here. So on this tip, it's a felt tip. So sometimes the felt phrase, if you ever seen the, why am I talking about felt? That's not what this video is about. Just know the marker was running out. I'll redo this. So when you look at the satchel? It's a swatch card. Why did I get satchel? Who says satchel? There's gonna be someone in the comments going and telling me what a satchel is. I know what a satchel is. I just don't know why I said it. And ink. And I don't know why I'm holding up this pen. I'm not using it in this video. I was writing my notes with it. Just don't worry about that. And the Unipin pens are really good. I have the whole set. I think I have 2 sets of Unipin pens, and I keep one in a travel bag, and then I keep another set over here. I use them a lot. I use I'm rambling about Unipin. Get back on track, Pete. So these are the HOTU dual tone. They're dual tone. That's right. I speak English. It's dual, I know it's dual tone. Just stay out of the comments for 5 seconds. It says it can be used on any surface. Challenge accepted. The sun. If you'd like to join our community, head over to illustrationsbypete.com. You can just check some things out. You go through the site however you want and sign up for the newsletter that I almost never send out because I don't want to annoy the crap out of you more than I already do with my nonsense in these videos. But I'd love to hear from you, so come on over. All right.